Fate delayed by dawn, with boundless dreams ranging from flying carpets to mystical creatures. Shahrizat, who enchants the Shah, leaves his story unfinished at its most exciting point each morning, saving both his own life and the future of an empire, thread by thread, with the healing power of fairy tales.
The first light of dawn begins to filter through the palace windows, marking the end of the night. Shahrazad suddenly pauses her story at a gripping cliffhanger and waits in the ensuing silence. Outside the door, the shadow of the executioner is clearly visible, but the Shah raises a hand to signal a stay of execution, desperate to hear the end. High upon a balcony, the eye looks down into the exotic palace gardens, where the bright moonlight turns the marble fountains into silver. Deep in the shadows, a forbidden feast is held by slaves and concubines who move with a sense of desperate urgency. The dramatic lighting captures the chilling moment of the queen's betrayal, turning the garden into a stage of silent, tragic scandal. Shahryar and Shahzeman walk along a desolate, rocky coastline, their royal status hidden beneath simple, humble travelers' robes. Behind them stretches the vast, endless blue sea, a mirror to the uncertainty of their journey. They appear weary from the road, yet their eyes remain determined as they search the world to find someone whose wretchedness exceeds their own. Suddenly, the center of the sea erupts in a massive pillar of water, and from the spray emerges a gargantuan, terrifying Ifrit. Cloaked in a thick swirl of mist and smoke, the djinn carries a large, locked chest balanced precariously on his head. In the foreground, the two brothers huddle behind jagged rocks, watching the monstrous entity in absolute terror. On the shoreline, the Ifrit falls into a deep sleep with his massive head resting on the lap of a breathtakingly beautiful woman who emerges from the chest. She is as cunning as she is lovely, and her gaze immediately sharpens as she spots the two brothers hiding in a nearby tree. With a commanding look, she beckons them down, her hand clutching a string of hundreds of seal rings that symbolize her defiance. Back within the palace walls, Shah Shahryar sits alone on his throne, his face partially swallowed by deep, oppressive shadows. He grips a bared sword tightly, his expression cold and ruthless as he stares at the floor in a state of vengeful silence. The long halls of the palace feel eerie and cold, while the royal court watches their king from a distance, paralyzed by fear. Deep inside a private library lit by flickering candles and filled with thousands of ancient scrolls, a worried vizier looks on in grief. His daughter, Shahrazad, stands tall and poised before him, her voice steady as she explains her daring plan to marry the Shah. Her expression radiates immense wisdom and a courage that belies the danger of her mission. Inside the Shah's opulent bedchamber, the air is thick with the scent of heavy incense and the glow of flickering candelabras. Shahrazad and the Shah stand together in the center of the room, while her younger sister, Dunyazad, sits quietly in the corner. A heavy, magical silence hangs in the air, a final breath of stillness just before the storytelling begins. Shahrazad sits up in the grand bed, her hands gesturing gracefully as she breathes life into her narrative. Shah Shahryar leans in, his eyes wide and visibly mesmerized by the rhythm of her voice. In the background, the very air seems to shimmer with ethereal, translucent visions of flying carpets and mythical creatures that float like a dream. The first light of dawn begins to filter through the palace windows, marking the end of the night. Shahrazad suddenly pauses her story at a gripping cliffhanger and waits in the ensuing silence. Outside the door, the shadow of the executioner is clearly visible, but the Shah raises a hand to signal a stay of execution, desperate to hear the end.
Don't forget to subscribe and like.